Hello my dear students, so I am Sainath, your law faculty, and this video is regarding day before exam strategy. So this is applicable for CMA inter level and that too for business laws and ethics subject. So in exams we are going to get multiple choice questions as well as descriptive questions. So multiple choice questions is for 30 marks and descriptive questions is for 98 marks. So out of 98 marks, we are required to answer for 70 marks only. That means 28 marks can be taken as choice. So total, you are required to answer for 100 marks. Now, how to prepare for MCQ portion? So for MCQ portion, you are required to prepare MCQ book, which was issued by CMA Institute or our masterminds. Okay, then in MCQ book, there are around 300 questions. So just try to complete each and every MCQ without any choice. Then definitely you will get a good number of marks in MCQs. Then what about descriptive portion? So in descriptive portion, we need to classify the chapters into 3 categories. So first one, we need to prepare completely. Second one, prepare only to the extent of important questions. Third one, you can ignore the chapters completely. So prepare completely, prepare only to the extent of important questions and ignore completely. So this is only applicable in case of descriptive questions. So this is not applicable in case of MCQ questions. So in case of MCQs, you are required to prepare each and every MCQs without any choice. You need to prepare MCQs of each and every chapter. But for descriptive questions, you can take some chapters or some questions as choice. Then what about those questions? First one, Introduction to Law and Legal System in India. So you can ignore this chapter. So on the day before exam, you can ignore this chapter. Next one, what about Indian Contract Act, Sale of Goods Act, NA Act and Indian Partnership Act? So you need to prepare these questions, that is these chapters, only to the extent of important questions. Not required to prepare each and every question, just prepare important questions, it will be sufficient. Then how we know whether this question is important or not? So for that purpose, just download the marathon material which was used for marathon. Next one, finally, LLP Act. So in case of LLP Act, so just ignore this chapter. So that means in commercial laws, you need to ignore 2 chapters, Introduction to Law and Legal System in India and other one is LLP Act 2008. Sir, what happens if question paper contains questions from these 2 chapters? You can leave those questions as choice because you are having a power to leave certain number of questions as choice. So by using that power, you can ignore those questions. Next one. Then what about industrial laws? In case of industrial laws, that is Factories Act, Payment of Gratuity Act, EPF Act and Employee State Insurance Act, Code on Wages. In all these chapters, try to prepare important questions only. No need to prepare all the questions. Just prepare important questions, it will be sufficient. Next one. Then what about Companies Act? In entire Companies Act, so we are required to classify the entire Companies Act into 2 categories. One is Directors chapter, other one is others. In case of Directors chapter, you need to prepare completely without any choice. You need to prepare each and every question in Directors chapter, it is very important. Then what about other chapters? You can just prepare important questions, it will be sufficient. Next one. Then what about Business Ethics and Emotional Intelligence? So this is also very important chapter and you need to prepare completely. So without leaving any question, you need to prepare this chapter as well as Director chapter. For remaining chapters, you need to prepare only to the extent of important questions and few chapters you can ignore, that is Introduction to Law and Legal System in India and LLP Act. If you want to ignore additional chapters, then you can ignore NA Act. You can ignore NA Act because it is very voluminous. That's why you can ignore NA Act while making preparation. But preparing Indian Contract Act, Sale of Goods Act, Indian Partnership Act is mandatory. And preparing all industrial laws is mandatory. And preparing all chapters in Companies Act is mandatory. And preparing business ethics is also mandatory. Next one. Sir, I have a doubt now. Say for example, I prepared for Introduction to Law and Legal System in India, NA Act as well as LLP Act. Then what to do now? If you already prepared few questions in these chapters, So just try to revise those few questions, that's it. If you completely left this chapters as choice previously, then ignore this chapter on the day before exam also. So if you prepared for 10 questions or 12 questions, then just revise those 10 or 12 which you already prepared. And don't go for any new question in these 3 chapters. Next one. So by preparing based on this strategy, how many marks you will get? So in MCQs you will get around 24 marks, and in descriptive you will get around 46 marks. So in total there is a chance to get 70 marks based on this strategy, but you need to follow this strategy so without any deviation. Then you can easily get out of 100 70 marks. Okay students, so all the best for your exams. Bye.